How to Describe Frank.
Excellent.
It's a bonkers and brilliant indie comedy. Unique and funny. Fassbender is amazing.
Thank you.
Weird and wonderful.
Frank, you should be famous.
Flattered grin.
Stop saying your facial expressions out loud. It's extremely annoying.
Lenny Domhnall, how are you keeping today?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm great. First of all, congratulations on the film, both behind and in front of the camera. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Great,
Initially, I'm just really curious as to what your initial reaction was when you heard the story or when you were given the script. Like, how did you react when you read it first?
Well, it is, you can imagine what it's like written down. I mean, it's sort of, and it was an earlier version, so it wasn't a finished version of the script. It wasn't the version of the script we shot. So there were, like, as there are in early drafts, lots of things that weren't working, and so you're sort of having to see through that. So it's quite a thing to read a script and really, one might read a fair few and you sort of go, but I think my reaction originally was that this is barking mad, but there's something really glorious about it. There is a prize to be won if you can get the film right.
Yeah.
And the character of Frank was, I sort of found myself intrigued. It always comes to just a few images that you get when you're reading a script. And there were things, the Vetno section, the section in the middle of the film when the band are recording the album, that was the least changed since from when I read the script 3-4 years ago. And it was that section where I just thought, God, that's kind of special, and I really have to think seriously about it.
Yeah. And for yourself, Donald?
Yeah, it was. It was a strange read, and I kept laughing. I kept on laughing, and I kept on reading and saying, "Oh, why is this happening now?" Continually surprised by it, which is a brilliant thing in a script. Finished it really quickly, which is always a good sign. And then at the end, thought, I've no idea how somebody's going to make this work. Like, I've no idea how this is going to come together. But I knew Lenny was doing it, and so that was always going to be interesting, and that was always going to give it like a brilliant shot. So that was kind of my reaction immediately, was I'm not sure how to do it, but if you could, it would be great.
Lenny, when you were pitching the role of Frank to Michael Fassbender, was he at all trepidatious coming in? He was like, you're not going to see my face for this film, or was he just
No,
feet first?
and in fact, the amazing thing about it is I didn't pitch it to him, because normally what you would do is you would go and you'd make an offer, or you'd request an audition, or depending on how it's working, you'd have a meeting, certainly. But actually, Michael read the script because his agent had it, and his agent obviously thought, it's kind of crazy, but he might be interested in it. So the first thing I heard was that he was interested in it. Mm-hmm. Not that he was going to do it, but that he was interested in it and he wanted to chat about it. So that was amazing. So that also made the conversation a lot easier, because if I had gone to him and said, now I've this idea, bear with me, we never, and you're covered. Whereas I knew he'd read it and was interested, so we could talk about the film.
And he also liked garage. He talked about that in the other, but he also really liked garage as well. So I guess you had that on your side when you met him.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. And I suppose when you sign up to do a film as an actor, you are putting yourself in somebody's hands to an extent, and you want to have some faith. It's like, that's no guarantee the film's going to work. Films are hard to get right, but you want to give it the best chance you can, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. And Donald, it's difficult it was for Michael to act through the mask. For me, it was just as difficult for you, because you're acting against a blank canvas almost for most of the film. Did you find yourself kind of adjusting to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you adjust, but I mean, you're adjusting in the way that you have to be conscious of the fact that an audience are also going to find this strange, and that everything is kind of slightly heightened in a strange way. It's realistic to a certain extent, and then it's totally not for the extra little bit. But that was the challenge, was getting the tone of the film right while the head was in the room, as opposed to acting with Michael, which, whether he's covered up or whether it's just his voice, or if you can't see him or if you can, is always going to be brilliant, because great acting is great acting, and it's always going to shine through. And I think I'm a really slow learner. Like, it takes me a long time to learn things. This is true. But I think I learned a lot from Michael, and I think I learned a lot from Lenny, and weirdly it's beginning to kick in now, which is the strangest thing,
You mentioned earlier the middle section where they're kind of recording the album. To me, like you were saying, it changed the least from the script, but like, was there room there for much improvisation? Because, just the door and jumping in a puddle and like pulling a thread, like, were you just walking around the room going, that could be funny?
Okay, I tell you what, it's a good question, because there was what was there in the original script was like the spirit of it, but there was loads of room where you can go, you can riff on that. Some of the things that were scripted, like the tuft of carpet, was scripted because I had a conversation with Stephen Rennicks, the brilliant composer of all the music, And we thought, what is the smallest, you're contrasting Frank, who you're saying really has music in him, with John, who really doesn't, who can only write, he just can't write about, he can't make a song. So you're going to say, well, Frank can make a song about anything. What's the most ridiculous thing he could pick out in a room? And we thought about like a tuft in the carpet. Like, what's to be said about that? And he just spins this crazy song out. So that was planned, and the carpet was pre-prepared by the art department and everything. But then loads of other stuff that the guys did, like Domhnall being chased by Michael with a spade through a field, all of that, like loads of stuff, which just, we put time aside to let people just go nuts, and we filmed it.
Yeah.
And how was it filming in South by Southwest? Because like anyone outside of America, I think looks at that as being like the biggest artistic festival that there is, but being in it and working in it at the same time, how was that?
Well, I mean, we actually shot it in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so we weren't actually in South by Southwest. It was shot somewhere different. But I've got lots of friends in bands, lots of friends in good bands who had been to South by Southwest, and it sounds like a funny mix of all the possibility of, America, anything's possible, and then the crushing reality every now and again of, wow, we've flown ourselves over here and no one's come to see our gig, because that happens too.
Yeah.
And so it was funny kind of recreating it and realizing, having a version in my head that matched up weirdly with all my different friends. I've got so many friends. I've just got loads of friends.
Yeah, people like
it.
Loads.
Like I'm just a really popular guy, and like all those friends that I have, all of them, they had all talked about South by Southwest because they're all in amazing bands, all of them. And so, so being able to match my version up with theirs was kind of funny. But it was weird that we weren't there because we were in Albuquerque in January, which is freezing.
Freezing cold in January. But actually, the nice thing was that we showed the film at South by Southwest, and they thought we shot it at South by Southwest. The audience thought we shot it at South by Southwest. Yeah. So that was a real credit to the crew, really, to make it that accurate.
It got a fantastic response in America, and just from an audience's perspective, it seems like Irish film is blowing up lately because you had Calvary do really well. What Richard did got a great response in America. Just from the other side of the camera, do you find any change in Irish cinema lately?
I think there's a few really positive things. Like we're not obsessed anymore about what an Irish film is or should be. So that's a sign of maturity, that there are lots of people doing different things. And so there's that kind of energy, and Frank is now an Irish film because we made it. We made a big chunk of it here, but it was originally it's a British film in lots of ways, and the characters are all from other places. So, but we're not kind of angsting about it, and I think that's healthy. More stuff is being made and it's being supported. I think, I sometimes think maybe if I was to be in any way controversial, that people don't maybe work quite hard enough on script here, that there just needs to be a sort of a relentless, focus on making things really, really work. But I think, we are at like a much, much healthier position than we were, say, 10 years ago, like incomparable. Yeah.
And just as a last question, I can't let you go without bringing it up, but the reaction I've seen for you being cast in episode 7 has been just amazing. I'm just wondering what your reaction was to seeing such a positive reaction to it.
I don't know about the reaction to it. All I know is that I got to do the table read and that all those guys were there and I got to see them do it. That was enough. Every
single person I know is just like so happy to see that you're in the film, and
that's really
so
nice.
So congratulations, and even more congratulations on the film, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much.
Very sweet. Thank you very much.
Frank, people should know about you.
Fassbender is amazing.
Thank you.
Unique and unforgettable.
It's gonna be huge.
Frank, in cinemas May 9.